Good morning, Hallowed Haven family. This is After Dawn, the show where we sit down to have a cup of coffee with the cast, crew, and creators behind the Hallowed Haven Studios productions. I'm Sol, and I'm joined by my co-host, Vironz.
Yes, hello, I'm Vironz, and today we are going to talk about we're going to have a very special episode. Instead of our usual sit down, we're going to be talking about Hallowed Haven's newest upcoming flagship show, Among Two Worlds, a Mage the Ascension story. And to talk about that, we are joined by Legacy, the storyteller for the campaign. Hi, Legacy.
Hello.
So, Legacy, could you please give us a brief synopsis about what Among Two Worlds will be?
So Among Two Worlds is going to be a mix of a couple of different things. One, it is going to be a telling of the story of how two separate worlds kind of got merged into one. With the during Wayfarer we had the bit of a left field turn of the speaker being Loki, and he gave us a little bit of insight as to how he ended up in the World of Darkness world, and Mage is kind of the telling of the story of what happened, like not how he in particular ended up here, but like the event that caused kind of a rift, and how creatures like him ended up in the World of Darkness. And it's also a bit of a love letter to the 90s. Many of our players and many of our server owners and the bishops, they grew up in the 90s. A lot of us were born in the 90s. A lot of us have really heartfelt nostalgia to the stuff and to the pop culture that happened back then. So it's kind of my love letter to what I believe is probably one of the better eras that we have, both as somebody who is born and raised on a lot of 90s and 80s and 90s culture, and someone who's a bit of a I call myself pop culture history buff.
Well, I mean, that should be fun. We know that the Hallowed Haven Studios, our studios, have a tradition of placing their flagship shows in the same or very similar universes, like a sort of Hallowed Haven cinematic universe, as it were. This is I mean, you've pretty much confirmed that it's going to be in the same universe as the other flagship shows. Is there going to be a specific location you have in mind for the story to take place?
Yeah, this story is actually taking place in a place that's very special to me. It's taking place in the heart of the city of Boston, Massachusetts. Those who know me know that I grew up in Mass, and the history of the city that practically raised me means a lot to me. So I had, we've done games taking place in Chicago. We've done games taking place in Louisiana, and I think that having a city that's up in the north, because the north, like the northeast is kind of an untouched territory within HHS's cinematic universe. So I'm so excited to get to do something small that's also a bit of a love letter to my home state. Despite the ways that I'm totally gonna mess it up.
Alrighty. Tell us a little bit about Mage. What should people be expecting to see when it comes to this game as a whole?
So I'm doing a bit of a rules light version of Mage. For those who aren't aware of what Mage is, the rule of Mage is literally like your imagination's the limit. The cool and it's both an amazing rule and it's also a scary rule. As long as you're able to kind of make it work, giving the spheres that you have, and the spheres are kind of like the different types of magics that you can possess. If you can make it work within like the spheres that you have dots in, you can make pretty much anything happen. Mind you, if you bite the universe is going to bite back, and it's going to bite back a little hard. So if you're not careful with how you use your powers, what they call in the system paradox is very, very quick to let you know that what you're doing is not within the order, and I'm going to fix that for you. So I love it, because if I have some very creative players in my game, so I already know that there's going to be some very interesting stuff happening. And it's a bit of an unconventional story too, because typically in the Mage games, you focus very much on like the technocratic war between the traditions and the technocracy, which are basically like, in vampire terms, the Camarilla versus the Anarchs. So the Camarilla versus the Sabbat. And to have a story that's gonna kind of break away from the usual Mage games that I've seen and focus on what are these 4 groups of tradition mages going to do against whatever is going on. I'm super excited. I've got Jade, who was a guest SPC in season 1 of Wayfarer. I've got Termite, I've got BP, and we got a new guy, Bookkeeper, who's joining our game, who I know is a phenomenal role player. So you guys are going to see some interesting stuff, and probably some light rule bending.
That's perfectly fine. I think the rules were there to be bent and just made to allow the game to be better.
100%. I like to go by the rule of cool. If it makes sense in one way or another, I'm pretty relaxed on how you play the game. Those who've ever played in a game with me before, I tend to let things that technically aren't supposed to happen anyway, if I think that it'd make for a better story. If I think that you're gonna do something just because you want to be like OP and it doesn't make much sense, I'm a bit quick to be like, okay, well, why don't we try a different approach? But if I think that's cool and I think that'll make for a cool story, I don't care. I'll bend the rules.
Absolutely fair enough. Well, I was going to ask about the cast, but you answered that question already. You goblin.
Do you plan to have a lot of NPCs or a few? Is there any space for our Patreon people to get on board?
There most definitely is. I am actually currently looking for someone to play a very important NPC. So if anybody on Patreon is looking to play something a little bit fun, feel free to reach out. More than happy to get you into something. As for NPCs, I have a list of characters that, depending on what the players do, or where they go, they're going to meet up with. And it's a bit of a surprise I don't want to give out, but there's one NPC I'm really looking forward to them meeting if they get the chance to. It's a character that's very near and dear to my heart, that one of you might be aware of. So
well, now I'm excited.
So obviously, no spoilers, but what is the thing you were most excited about with this campaign?
How they go about solving the issue at hand. There are a million different ways that they can approach that topic. And there are a million different things they might never even approach their final boss if they play their cards that way. And I always leave that as an option of you might never have to actually physically confront if you're able to take care of the issue in a specific way. It's going to be a little bit harder, but it's definitely possible. So there are probably about 6 different ways that I can think of, which means that there's probably about 10 more that I'm not able to think of, ways that they're able to approach all of the problems that they're going to have to deal with. They've only got 4 episodes to really figure it out. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach it.
Fair enough. When should we start expecting to be able to watch the campaign?
Among Two Worlds will be episode 1 will be premiering on Friday, September 8th at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Fantastic.
Do you have any tips for the people in chat to get involved? Anything you hope to see from the viewers?
I would love to see, especially those who may have who grew up in that era, bring on the references to like old. Well, you know, I don't consider it old, but yeah, I've got two little ones who might consider it old pop culture, and be ready for a story that slightly differs from the usual HHS story.
All right. This is enough hype for this campaign, so we hope you are all excited as us to watch the show as we to watch the show. Thank you for watching, and as usual, you can join us as we have a cup of coffee with our cast and crew of Hallowed Haven Studios each week. These episodes are dropped Thursdays at noon for the $5 and up tier. They are released to the public 1 month later. Think about subscribing so that you can stay up to date with your talk news for Hallowed Haven Studios. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.